But it's really important to have a solid understanding on the birth, life, and resurrection of Christ, and also what it meant after Christ died, what his legacy or role was for us. So there's some scriptures that you guys can read. But the New Testament continues God's story of salvation that began in the Old Testament, this time including us, the church, as part of the cast of characters. The church is God's primary plan for showing and telling others about his love throughout the world, and our responsibility as the church is to focus on and follow the foundation of the church, Jesus Christ. So one of the things that, as a discussion topic, is are you worrying or worshiping? That's one of those big key points. Are you showing and telling, or are you hiding and seeking? And you have to be honest with yourself as a leader if you're doing that. I know we can all say, well, we come to church because we want to worship God, but are we really coming to church to worship God, or are we really worrying about, we're coming to church because we were worrying that if we don't come, then something's not going to happen, or something like that. Are you showing God, and are you telling, or are you hiding from him? I feel like I'm all by myself.
Like you have your own show.
Yeah, this is not good. Y'all need to come back to the table.
Oh, my bad. Everybody come back to the table.
And are you hiding or speaking? So, you guys can read more, but Jesus is first. I know you guys have read it a lot of times.
We gotta read the Bible.
Yeah, not right now. Y'all can go back and do that when you guys get home. And then Jesus' life. And through Jesus' life, he's a perfect example of a leader. So if you were looking for any person in the Bible, you could go to Jesus and find the perfect example, because from day one he was being a leader. He did things that kids didn't do, and he just was just the role model as you guys would expect him to be. When we truly understand what Jesus did, we will live a life of thankfulness and be more inclined to view others in the same way Jesus does. So, and the key points were begin again, watch Jesus, remember what's true, and share the light. That's the New Testament. And then we have Jesus' resurrection. And this is a really important quote, so if you have to listen up to this. And this basically is a really foundational piece. When people ask you about Christ, there's actually a whole lesson in here about evangelism and stuff like that. So this is a key point. It says, without the belief in the resurrection, the Christian faith could not have come into being. The disciples would have remained crushed and defeated men. Even had they continued to remember Jesus as their beloved teacher, his crucifixion would have forever silenced any hopes of him being the Messiah. The cross would have remained the sad and shameful end of his career. The origin of Christianity therefore hinges on the belief of the early disciples that God had raised Jesus from the dead. So basically here it's saying that if Jesus didn't arise, we probably would all still be Jewish. Like, anybody who would be kind of Christian would be Jewish, because, like, y'all get that? Kind of. Like, because otherwise, like, it wouldn't, like, if he didn't do what he said he was going to do, then it never really would have been as true Messiah like they had always talked about. And so God can help you overcome the fear of faith. So anybody know there is such thing as a fear of faith? Anybody? What is a fear of faith?
You're scared to have faith?
You're scared to have faith. And it kind of seems kind of strange the way it says, but a fear of doubt and a fear of death. So those are the three things. And the third one is not just a death. It's more of like a literal kind of death, but it can also be a spiritual death, because you're trying to keep your spirit alive. In the body of Christ, the Bible describes the church as a people, everyone who has faith in Jesus. So it's not really like when you guys come to church that this is church. Church is just a group of people, because that's what God calls his bride, the church. So the body of Christ is a work of God, a community to care for, a family to grow on, a team to serve on, or help on. So if you're not doing the serve word. Huh? Okay. Oh, he is? Oh, okay. Oh, we're on video.
It is videotaped.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
So do you guys understand the New Testament a little bit? I know we're not really going in detail with all this stuff, but we don't really have a lot of time. I guess that would
looks more professional.
Yeah, it does look more professional to look in the camera.
Yeah, I was trying to get your attention.
So we kind of talked about the family life stuff, but this is really important. Because if your family life is messed up, most likely your ministry will be messed up, just because of the fact those two and two work really, really good. So the most important thing with family life is communication. You guys can you can live under a household where everybody believes in something different, but if you guys are able to communicate, it's not as much as a thing if you can't communicate. And then James does an excellent job talking about communication and everything. And the main point is to know that every family needs help. So when you're ministering to someone, you're coming from that point, not as taking them as a. You can't really expect any family to be perfect. So even if someone comes to you and says, "Well, I can't stand being in a home," it's not like that's like the absolute worst thing that can happen, because no one really has a perfect family life. James knew that in order to do what God wants, we would have to learn how to listen. In order to properly listen, we would need to be able to tame our tongue. So it's important to listen first, then speak, because our words